Hey guys, today we're driving the 2022 Ford Explorer Timberline. We're at Hollyoaks Off-Road Park in Holly, Michigan, and we have done an on-road drive of this Explorer Timberline a couple months ago. Today we're going to get a chance to drive this on some trails and take it off-roading. Now, again, this isn't a dedicated body-on-frame off-roader, but it is a more capable off-road package. This Explorer Timberline adds off-road oriented suspension, basically just cop shocks and springs. They can handle a lot more abuse with 8.6 inches of ground clearance and Bridgestone dualer all-terrain tires. There's also aluminum skid plates front, rear, and I believe something in the middle. But it's got a little bit more ground clearance, a little bit more approach, departure angles. We've got a bunch of different drive modes. Right now we're in mud and deep snow sand. We have a forward-facing 360 camera. We can see the trail ahead of us with a little bit more detail using that. I've got my tire pressures displayed here on the center screen, just showing we're pretty much running street pressures in this Explorer Timberline today. Getting through this section pretty easily. A little bit of an articulation situation there. I don't honestly have the best view in this 360 cam. It's kind of difficult to see what is what and which is where. But upon first impressions, this seems to have pretty good ground clearance and capability off-road. This deep sand and snow mode is a little bit more of a loose traction surface mode, a little bit less oriented to rock crawling. I might switch into trail mode and see what happens there. That might grab the brakes a little bit more aggressively and transmit torque to the other wheel. It's up in the air. Hollyoaks is a great off-road park, I've found, for light off-roading. We're going to be doing slightly different trails in this Explorer Timberline compared to the Expedition. But I actually really like this package. It's a really good looking trim line for the more adventure-oriented buyer. Adds just a little bit more off-road capability. We have a Torsen limited slip differential in the rear, and that's just going to give us a little bit more traction going in and out of off-road scenarios. We're just going to slowly go through this, testing out that skid plate. There we go. Yeah, there is a lot more ground clearance and approach departure angle on the Expedition. I believe over 10 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty class leading for a full-size SUV. We're going to kind of try to stay out of this rut here in the middle. Use our camera to kind of straddle this, but mostly just visualize it with our eyes. Ride quality is pretty nice off-road. Not getting jostled around too much in this. The trail camera will turn off above a certain speed. Looks like it's about 5 or 6 miles per hour. Slow and steady is the name of the game off-road. When you're approaching obstacles, you want to approach depending on the obstacle and the situation, but usually you want to approach with a little bit less speed so the suspension has time to settle and you're not upsetting the car too much or loading up the suspension and reducing your approach angle. This Explorer is a pretty decent size, but it seems like it's getting through this tighter trail quite well. I have a pretty good idea of my dimensions. Let's see if we can straddle this a little bit, get a little bit more ground clearance over that hump in the middle. There we go. Thankful for these Bridgestone dualers. do wish some of these trail cams would stay on for a little bit higher speeds. 6 miles an hour sometimes just isn't quite enough. Alright, off we go. Pretty blind crest here, but it just follows down. Nice. Stay wide so we clear that rear wheel. They want us to try hill descent control here, so I guess we'll humor that. I've honestly never seen the point in hill descent control. It feels so strange to take your foot off the brake downhill. I really like to just kind of control things myself, so we'll see how it goes. We're not going to try hill descent control. That's fine. It's not really necessary. I like that we can get a full screen forward facing camera with this view. That's nice. And the 360 cam is good though for some off-roading. There are a bunch of different drive modes in this Explorer Timberline: slippery, trail, mud, sand, normal, eco, sport, tow, haul. This is pretty sandy here, so we're going to switch
expedition. You'll be going into the sand pit there
to deep snow sand. Oh, that's fun.
Going this direction.
This is all new in Hollyoaks. Deep snow, mud, sand will turn off traction control, but leave just a little bit of stability intervention. It will allow for a good bit of wheel spin too. So, you know, an Explorer like this Timberline edition is great for just a bit of soft roading. This can get you to your campsite, can take you off the beaten path on that trail. You're not going to be doing any heavy off-roading, heavy rock crawling with this, but as you can see, it's generally pretty capable. You're mostly just limited by ground clearance, approach and departure angles, and if you carefully pick your lines, you can take this through quite a lot. The traction control systems work very well. The extra sidewall and Bridgestone Dueler tires are quite nice to take off-road. It gives you a little bit more confidence when getting through harsher, rutted and rocky terrain. And the Torsen limits the rear differential definitely helps with off-road performance. Not to mention, I think this is just a really cool looking package. I like the interior in this Explorer. We have tangerine contrast stitching with kind of these greenish seats. Off-road, I'm finding this pretty easy to drive. Ride quality is good, like I said earlier. Pretty easy to modulate throttle too. I'm going to put us back into trail mode here. Let's straddle this rock. There we go. This would probably do pretty well on some higher speed off-roading too. Really pretty impressed with the ride quality. Cocking a wheel there. getting into some mud. This will really test these Bridgestone tires. Really liking the ergonomics of this Explorer too. Lots of physical controls. They all seem to be laid out pretty well. Love the placement of this trail camera. It just makes it easy. You don't really have to think too much about what you're pressing and where you need to look. Got a pretty steep descent here. It's always amazing how unimpressive off-roading looks on camera compared to the steepness in real life. That wasn't that steep back there, but on camera it probably looked like just a little hill. Alright guys, well there's just a quick overview of the Ford Explorer Timberline off-roading on kind of a softer, more mild trail, but it's still a pretty capable package. If you haven't already, check out our on-road driving review of the Explorer Timberline. We'll talk a little more about its on-road dynamics in that video. I filmed that with substitute TheTopher. But for now, I think that's a pretty good run in this Timberline. Not sure what else we're going to be doing. Maybe we'll do some higher speed stuff. Let's see, deep snow, sand. We follow the Raptor here. What you don't get on camera is the smell of burnt mud on the exhaust. It's a fun little course. Probably hit this at higher speed on something like a side-by-side or a motorcycle. Action in the Explorer Timberline.